The air in Medbay 9 reeked of disinfectant, charred polymer, and something distinctly metallic, the smell of blood and plasma burns mingling in the cold sterility of alien steel. Dr. Nixara Velthra, third-ranking surgeon of the Khazari Galactic Coalition, wasn't used to emergency calls at this hour, especially not involving a Terran. She adjusted her diagnostic lens, which hovered like a glassy monocle over her left eye, and scowled at the chaotic mess coming through the blast doors. "What by the stars happened to this one?" she hissed, her gills fluttering with exasperation. The human was a mess of shredded combat armor, exposed ribs, and a gaping wound where his stomach used to be. Burn marks scorched his limbs, and his left leg hung by a sinew. Yet, he was laughing. "Doc, you should see the other guy," the Terran wheezed, his grin wide despite the blood trickling from his lips. Commander Mork Threx, a thick-shelled Zornaxian with the posture of a weary soldier and the eyes of a man who'd seen too much, rolled his shoulders. He took a direct hit from a Karkan plasma lance. "Should be dead." "Refused evac until the squad was clear. Then walked back to base," Mork said, almost reverently. Nixara narrowed her eyes, glancing over the biostat monitors as they screamed red alerts. "Walked? With a liquefied spleen and spinal damage? And 2 broken femurs," Mork added. The human chuckled again. "Name's Cole. Marine. Nice to meet YA." Nixara blinked. Then blinked again. She'd studied dozens of species. She knew about the Terran reputation, stubborn, reckless, short-lived anomalies of biology, but this bordered on the supernatural. "Sedate him. Prep for surgery. Full regeneration protocol," she ordered. "Already tried. 4 sedatives. He's still conscious," her nurse said, holding up the empty vials. Nixara looked down at Cole, who winked. "Don't suppose you got anything stronger than that alien tea you gave me?" They rushed him into the surgical suite, where auto-drones descended with surgical arms and laser scalpels. Nixara led the operation, guiding nanite injectors and biosuture fields through the mess that was once a human torso. Everything screamed that this man should be dead: blood loss, organ failure, brain trauma. And yet, his heart kept beating. His cells fought death like it was an inconvenience. Hours later, when the worst was stabilized and the operating lights dimmed, Nixara collapsed into the observation chamber. She stared through the glass at Cole, now encased in a biostatic pod, and reviewed the scans. Already, tissues were regenerating at an accelerated pace. "He shouldn't be alive," she whispered. Mork grunted. "Humans. Never makes sense until they punch you in the face with it." Back in her quarters, Nixara dictated her report. Subject: human, Terran designation Cole. Severe plasma-induced trauma. Projected mortality: 100%. Outcome: survived. Biological response: anomalous. Hypothesis: either divine intervention, or humanity is actively defying nature. 2 days later, Cole was walking. Not hobbling. Walking. "Hey, Doc. Heard there's a training sim on Deck 3. Wanna spot me? You have 3 artificial organs still stabilizing, and your femurs were replaced with bioalloy graft. All the more reason to test them out," he grinned. Nixara stormed into her lab, pulling every piece of Terran medical research she could find. There were rumors, of course. The Death World classification. The atmospheric instability of Earth. The bacteria, the predators, the constant need to adapt. But this was absurd. Later that cycle, Nixara was summoned by the High Medical Tribunal. Her paper, now spreading through the Coalition's science networks, had triggered waves of debate. "Dr. Velthra," began the elder, his multilobed brain pulsing behind a crystalline dome, "are you asserting that Terrans can regenerate fatal wounds faster than any known species?" "I'm not asserting. I'm observing." "And yes. And you attribute this to, what exactly?" Nixara hesitated. "Possibly the result of evolutionary adaptation to a hostile environment, combined with an unpredictable neurological resilience." "Neurological resilience. They want to live," she said simply. "Even when they shouldn't." Meanwhile, Cole had become something of a celebrity. Other patients visited him just to see the man who laughed in the face of death. Soldiers started a rumor, if you bleed out, just get near Cole. He'll will you back to life. Nixera watched him do pull-ups with his new limbs. She watched the scar on his abdomen shrink daily. She watched something deeper emerge, an infectious defiance that spread to the med staff. It wasn't long before another emergency arrived, a Spharic lieutenant with arterial burns and zero pulse. Dead by all readings. Don't let her go, Cole said, stepping beside the pod. Cole, she has no vitals. She's still warm. Try. And somehow, they did. And somehow, she lived. Nixera didn't know what disturbed her more, that a human could survive a fatal wound, or that his presence made others believe they could too. That night, as she updated her research, she paused over her notes. Hypothesis revision, Terran biology, may not be the key factor. Terran * willpower * is. The next morning, she awoke to the sound of blaring sirens. Another emergency. This time, a full squadron brought in, mangled, broken, barely alive. Among them, Cole. He shielded the others, Mork said. Caught a detonation full on. No. Not again. Not this time, Nixera muttered, racing to the OR. Cole lay still, for once. Pale. His chest barely moved. His vitals were dropping fast. Prep full cellular regen. Charge nanite swarms. Keep him conscious if you can. As they worked, a drone scanned his neural activity. He's still laughing, the assistant whispered. Nixera leaned close. Cole's lips curled weakly. Told you. I'm hard to kill. And with that, Section 1 ended, but the real miracle was only beginning. The explosion had shattered more than just the forward wall of the outpost, it shattered the illusion that Cole was untouchable. Blood pooled under the operating table as Nixera worked with a fury no one had seen before. Robotic arms danced around her, scanning, suturing, cauterizing, but even they struggled to keep up with the relentless hemorrhaging from Cole's injuries. 3 of his ribs were vaporized, part of his lung was gone, and his neural readings were unstable. But his heart, it kept going, as if daring death to try harder. We're losing him, her assistant shouted. Not today, Nixera snapped. She forced a vial of raw hyperregenerative serum into the nanite injection feed. Override Protocol 8. Initiate full-scale cellular override. Now. That could destabilize the brain, then stabilize it with the cortical harness. You want to explain to command that their miracle human finally ran out of miracles? For 37 agonizing minutes, the surgical bay was locked in chaos. Every second felt like it teetered on the edge of finality. And then, his vitals leveled. It was impossible. Nixera stared at the readings. His not just healing. His cells are rewriting the serum's chemical structure. You mean, evolving? She nodded slowly. He's using it more efficiently than we designed it. By the 3rd day, Cole was not only stable but conscious. He winced and chuckled as he looked down at the regenerating scabs across his chest. Okay, Doc, gotta admit, that one almost got me. Nixera didn't respond. She was busy reviewing hours of biological data. But this time, it wasn't just her. Coalition researchers from across the galaxy were sending encrypted packets, theory after theory. None of them made sense. It wasn't just biology. It wasn't just tech. It was something else. Cole's uncanny resilience began sparking broader panic within the higher ranks of the coalition. If one human could survive what should have been certain death and do it twice, what did that mean for the rest of his kind? Was Earth producing soldiers or gods? Nixera received an encrypted message. *** subject, urgent. *** from Biotics Command Experimental Warfare Division ***. You are hereby summoned to Station N23. Bring the human. When she told Cole, he grinned. Sounds like they want to poke me with more needles. You should be worried. They're not scientists. They're weapons engineers. So are Marines. They were escorted aboard a stealth-class cruiser within the hour. No windows. No stars. Just steel corridors and whispered orders. Cole remained surprisingly calm, cracking jokes with the guards, even as the scientists stared at him like a test subject. At Station N23, things only escalated. Cole was bombarded with scans, put through physical stress tests, injected with toxins, and exposed to radiation that should have cooked him from the inside. And every time, he walked out grinning. "You'll gotta try harder than that." But the real concern came when the scans picked up something unprecedented. Nixera stared at the monitor in disbelief. "There's an anomaly in his genome. It wasn't there before." "Mutation?" She shook her head. "Adaptation. His DNA is responding. Not randomly. Intelligently." The lead scientist, a cold-eyed Trilaxian named Verla, leaned forward. "Are you suggesting he's becoming something *else*? I'm suggesting he already was star. We just didn't have the trauma to activate it." That night, Nixera approached Cole in his quarters. He was lifting a makeshift weight fashioned out of machine parts. "What if they try to keep you here? To study you forever?" "Let 'em try," Cole said. He didn't look afraid. But Nixera could see it in his eyes. The weariness. The creeping dread that maybe he wasn't in control of his own story anymore. The next day, the tribunal arrived. Verla spoke first. "The subject demonstrates regeneration, accelerated adaptation, and near-complete immunity to terminal trauma. We propose full isolation and genetic deconstruction." Nixera stood. "Absolutely not. He is a sentient being. A soldier. Not your lab rat. He's an anomaly. He's a *human*. You want to dissect what you don't understand because it frightens you. That's not science. That's barbarism." Cole walked in, uninvited. "Sorry to interrupt. Just figured I should be part of any conversation involving my organs." The tribunal froze. "How did you bypass the guards?" He shrugged. "Didn't try. They just kinda let me through." That was when Nixera noticed it. A subtle change in the air. A presence. As if Cole now gave off something unseen. A pressure. A command. Later that night, alarm screamed. A containment breach. Lab 6 was on fire. A test subject had gone berserk. It wasn't Cole. It was another human. One of 3 who had been secretly brought in. Nixera confronted Verla. "You replicated the experiment. With volunteers. From Earth. We thought, if Cole's abilities could be reproduced. One of the new subjects had died. The second was missing. The third had survived, but barely. Unlike Cole, their bodies couldn't adapt fast enough. Cole found the missing one in the hangar bay. A young corporal named Mason, shaking violently, eyes wild. They said it would make me stronger," he muttered. "They lied," Cole said softly, and carried him back to medbay. In the aftermath, the program was shut down. Or so they said. But now there was no denying the truth. Cole's biology, his recovery, his evolution, it wasn't replicable. It was *him*. Singular. Unpredictable. Dangerous. Word spread beyond the coalition. Mercenary guilds. Rogue scientists. Even hostile species. The human who couldn't die had become legend. Nixera was ordered to transfer him to Earth, under military quarantine. She refused. Instead, she took him off-grid, deep into an unregistered research station built into the crust of a dead moon. "This won't hold them forever," Cole said. "I don't need forever," she replied. "Just time to figure out what's really happening to you." Cole leaned against the console, arms folded. "Doc, what if I'm not just healing? What if I'm becoming something else entirely?" Nixera stared at him, then looked at his latest blood work. "Then I'll still be your doctor. Even if you become a god." Outside, in the shadowed starscape, unknown ships began to converge. Someone was coming for the miracle soldier. And Cole was ready for war. The silence before the storm was almost worse than the chaos that followed. Hidden in the rock-veined halls of the dead moon, Cole sat on the edge of a reinforced observation deck, staring at the stars. He was quiet, unusually so. Nixera observed him from a distance, running yet another set of biological scans, but her heart wasn't in it. There was something shifting beneath the surface of the universe, of Cole, of everything they thought they understood. He spoke without turning. They're coming. You felt it too? Didn't have to. Ships dropped out of FTL 2 hours ago. They're keeping quiet, but I know the scent of war. Nixera turned toward the monitors, confirming what he said. A cluster of unidentified ships, stealth class, radiation-dampened hulls, no transponder signals, sat on the edge of the moon's dark side. Waiting. Do you think they're coalition? Or someone worse? Cole finally turned to face her. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark. They're not coming to negotiate. And with that, the war for one man began. The station's power grid flickered, then failed entirely. Emergency lights surged to life, casting red hues across the laboratory walls. Nixera sprinted to the security controls, bypassing the intrusion lockouts. Multiple boarding craft inbound. Docking ports 2 and 4 breached. Internal containment compromised. Cole moved like a storm. He tore off his medical harness, slapped a plasma charge onto a wall locker, and yanked out an experimental combat suit that he was absolutely not supposed to have access to. You modified the suit, Nixera realized. Had to. My body's changing. The old armor didn't flex right anymore. You anticipated this. I felt it. Within moments, Cole stood clad in a black, obsidian alloy suit laced with silver filaments that pulsed like veins. He looked less like a man now, and more like a myth reborn. The first wave of hostiles breached the atrium. Nixera and Cole watched through internal cams as humanoid figures flooded the halls, augmented mercenaries, genetically spliced raiders, even a few insectoid worm spawn with chittering mandibles. They brought everything but a diplomatic envoy, Cole muttered. He stepped into the corridor without hesitation, and in seconds, the station became a crucible of war. Cole moved faster than Nixera could track. Every movement was clean, efficient, deadly. His punches cratered steel. His kicks sent attackers pinwheeling into walls. One worm spawn latched onto his back, driving a venomous stinger into his neck. He barely flinched. The venom turned to steam in his bloodstream. The attackers didn't break. They kept coming. Cole tore through them, a blur of rage and precision, but Nixera could see it. This wasn't victory. It was survival. Barely. She raced to the control center. Rerouted backup generators. Activated internal defense turrets. The station AI, now manually reactivated, began locking down sections. But the enemy adapted fast. They sabotaged power lines, corrupted drones, and even began hacking their way into the cryovault where Cole's earlier samples were stored. That was when it happened. Cole staggered. For the first time, he bled not just a scratch, but real damage. A plasma lance had pierced the backplate of his armor. His flesh sealed around it in seconds, but he dropped to one knee, eyes wide. Nixera reached him. Cole. Talk to me. He clutched his chest. They found a way through. What do you mean? They synthesized a counteragent. Someone on the inside must have leaked my biodata. It was betrayal. Somewhere in the coalition, or perhaps even back on Earth, someone had sold out the one soldier who refused to die. He stood, slower this time, and peeled off the melting chest plate. I'll hold them off. You need to get to the central server and purge everything. Don't let them take the data. If they do, they'll make monsters. I'm not leaving you. I know, he said. Then he handed her a sidearm and a data spike. But I'm going to need you to trust me. Then the final wave came. They weren't raiders. They were black-armored special ops. Clean movements. Synchronized gear. Silent comms. And Cole recognized them. These are Earthborn. Nixera froze. Your people? No. Their people. Blackwall Division. Human-only bioweapon division. They don't want to kill me. They want to claim me. He launched into them like a comet. This time, there were no quips. No grins. Just fury. But they were prepared. Their weapons were tuned to his frequency. Their suits dampened his kinetic energy. They moved like shadows. And one of them spoke through the comms. Cole Ryker. Stand down. You are valuable to Earth Command. This isn't personal. Cole answered by snapping the soldier's arm and using it to club two others unconscious. Nixera purged the servers as instructed. The entire lab went up in flames as security charges ignited. She made her way to the extraction point, heart pounding. Cole wasn't behind her. She turned. The corridor was filled with smoke and fire. A black-armored soldier emerged, dragging Cole's limp form. No. She fired. The shots dropped the attacker. Cole slumped forward, coughing. Burns covered half his face. His left arm was gone. But he looked up. Still here. They made it to the emergency shuttle, powered up the engines, and rocketed off the dead moon just as it collapsed in on itself. The failsafe worked. No data left to find. In the shuttle's med bay, Nixera wept. She didn't know if it was from relief or fear. Cole lay still, his remaining eye open. They're gonna keep coming, document. They can't help it. I broke the rules. What rules? Humans aren't supposed to survive the impossible. She smiled through the tears. Then they should have picked a different human. But even as the stars blurred outside their window, she could feel it too. Cole was changing again. His body was adapting to the toxins. The burns were already fading. New tissue was forming along his severed shoulder. The next phase had begun. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was evolving into something the galaxy had never seen before. And they had no idea what was coming. The quiet hum of the shuttle's engines was the first true peace they'd known in weeks. Cole lay silent in the medpod, eyes closed, his face no longer burned but calm, as if sleeping. His body had stopped fighting, not out of failure, but because it had finally won. Tissue once melted by plasma was now reinforced with new, denser structures. His severed arm had begun to regrow, muscle first, then bone, then skin. His heartbeats were slow, deliberate, controlled. Nixera watched him as if witnessing the end of a war, and the beginning of a myth. They arrived at a forgotten station hidden inside a derelict asteroid field, an old listening post from a long-dead conflict, reprogrammed by Nixera's hand. It was safe, for now. Cole didn't speak for days. He simply rested, his body knitting itself back together, his mind lost in places she couldn't follow. But on the seventh day, as if awakening from some profound internal dialogue, he opened his eyes. You didn't leave. I told you. Doctor to the end, Nixera said. He sat up slowly. Feels quiet. Like something ended. It did. You died. Then you didn't. Again. Cole touched his chest, where not even a scar remained. I think it stopped. The changing. I feel like me again. But different. You've reached equilibrium, she said, voice soft. Your body's stopped reacting because it doesn't need to anymore. You've evolved past the need to heal. You are whole. He didn't answer immediately. His eyes scanned the stars through the viewport, as if searching for something else that had changed. What now? He finally asked. It was a question neither of them had an answer for. The war hadn't ended, not really. The coalition still teetered on the edge of fracture. Earth Command still pursued its secrets. Blackwall Division was wounded, but not destroyed. But Cole? He was done running. News began to spread quietly, through back channels and hushed whispers in shadowed stations. The miracle soldier was alive. And this time, he wasn't hiding. A message was broadcast, once, on an encrypted frequency. To those who would chase me, I am not your weapon. I am not your experiment. I am not your enemy. But if you come for me, know this. I won't be the one who bleeds. Then silence. In the months that followed, something began to shift. Not in the political centers or military towers, but in the hearts of soldiers, medics, and engineers who had heard the tales. Not just of Cole's survival, but of his refusal to become a monster. A Svarik cruiser under pirate attack managed to hold out 3 times longer than expected. The crew swore they saw a Terran guiding them from the shadows. A plague-ridden outpost suddenly recovered, thanks to a mysterious delivery of adapted nanite strains tailored to each patient's genome. A mercenary captain turned down a bounty for a bioweapon test subject after claiming, "You don't hunt a man who came back from the dead more than once. That's just bad karma." Cole never sought the spotlight. He didn't try to be a symbol. But he became one. Nixera documented everything. Not in a paper or tribunal briefing, but in a memoir. Healing wasn't the miracle. Choosing to remain human when offered godhood, that was. And eventually, Earth stopped looking for him. Because something stranger happened. People changed. Not biologically. Culturally. The story of Cole Ryker, the indestructible Marine, became a lesson, not a weapon. The Black Projects were shut down. Public opinion shifted. And Earth Command, in need of a new image, quietly distanced itself from Blackwall's crimes. Cole returned to Earth only once. Disguised. Alone. He visited the graves of his parents. Left a hand-carved coin on the headstone. Then disappeared again into the stars. Nixera continued her work on medical ships across contested space, always keeping one room open. Just in case. Years later, a child asked her if the stories were real. Did a human really survive a fatal plasma strike? Did he really fight off an entire squad with one arm? Did he really come back from the dead? She smiled. He didn't just come back. He chose to come back. He could have become something else. Something terrifying. But he stayed who he was. That's the real story. The moral wasn't in the bullets or blood. It was in the choice. In a universe that demanded evolution through cruelty, Cole Ryker evolved through compassion. Through stubbornness. Through refusing to become what others wanted of him. And in doing so, he proved that being human, truly human, wasn't a limitation. It was the greatest strength of all.